Number one is Cyborg Superman. So in the last episode of Supergirl, we found out that Hank Henshaw was not actually Hank Henshaw. It's John Jones. So John Jones had taken the shape of Hank Henshaw after Hank Henshaw died, back with Mr. Danvers. So that means Hank Henshaw existed, and he's quote-unquote dead, but is his consciousness somewhere? He worked for DEO, so maybe he could like have a little bit of consciousness somewhere there. You don't know what kind of technology there might be.
Yeah.
So I think a version of Cyborg Superman could show up. What do you think about that?
I think it would be cool if they handle the story of it well and do some flashbacks or backstory to show he was working on some weird kind of cyborg type technology or something to give it a different twist to kind of be why he would maybe, be playing around with this kind of thing, or something story-wise that made it happen to himself in his death that could make it really cool and unique to bringing back. And also we need a reason for him to kind of want to come back. And, I guess maybe even him coming back after the guy who's assuming his identity is a pretty cool reason too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it could be good. I mean, I think it would be, it's not going to be the death of Superman and then the return of the Superman type thing. Right. I think they can go in a totally new direction, but I think there's some possibilities just like you're laying out there.
Yeah, I mean, because the character isn't super well known, it is more of a clean slate,
Yeah, and he might not even have, might not even call him Cyborg Superman, but just that idea of Hank Henshaw coming back as a consciousness and having some sort of vendetta or some sort of anger that he's taken out.
Yeah, it could work for sure.
And they do have the technology to kind of have the personality connecting with an android, because Red Tornado had that from his creator.
Well, there you
go.
So
there could be something that could work, but so that's a possibility. Number 2 on our list is Kryptonite Man or Kryptonite Woman, so I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, I mean, every good Superman, story, sometimes we get Kryptonite. Looking forward to how they handle it, obviously, in the new movie coming out. And I'd love to see it make its way onto the show here as well. It's a character that's not super well known. It's been in a handful of comics. So really, you could take a woman and give her a female adversary with Kryptonite somehow involved, have great fight scenes, have a lot of story potential to see that she's weakened, and kind of work with the DEO people of how to combat the effects of Kryptonite with her. It's got a lot of potential, I think.
Yeah, and we have Kryptonite right from the very beginning, so it's there. The DEO has actually used Kryptonite in certain ways. I think you could do a sort of a story where it's like a disgruntled DEO employee or somebody who's kind of infiltrated DEO, got some Kryptonite, then is broken off and becoming Kryptonite Woman or something, and then the DEO has to work, because the DEO has the black eye of their person kind of being this villain now, and they have to work with Supergirl to try to counteract the Kryptonite stuff.
Yeah, it could totally work.
I think there definitely has to be some sort of Kryptonite-based villain where, some villain that's infused themselves with Kryptonite, or they've used Kryptonite in some way. It just, it seems pretty obvious somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, it's definitely something that seems like a no-brainer, right?
Mm-hmm. Number 3 is female Bizarro. So, I mean, it could be a Bizarro type thing where you have some sort of clone gone wrong or some kind of thing like that. But yeah, with the show, there's a lot of the female characters. There's a lot of the mother-daughter dynamics, and there's the Cat Grant dynamics and things, the sisters. So you could continue that by making it a female Bizarro.
Yeah,
Bizarra.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You just created the name for them. I could see them doing that. Like 2 reasons for me. Obviously, the power level, because sometimes in a good Superman Bizarro fight, Bizarro could almost be stronger at times. Because he didn't have that kind of moral compass that Superman and Supergirl will have. And also, I'm really interested in the good stories that, like, John Byrne did and other people. Bizarro didn't just try and be Superman. He tried to copy Clark Kent, too, and did weird stuff and showed up dressed like Clark Kent with, like, backwards clothes on and stuff. And so there's a lot of potential for kind of weird, not necessarily comedic, lighthearted at moments, but just kind of off-the-wall stuff that would kind of give it a different vibe as well.
Yeah, or you could go with like the villain who's actually, kind of has a heart of gold, or the villain who's a threat, but that you kind of empathize with them or her. And I think that could work as well.
It's kind of original too. I don't think we've seen that in any superhero movie yet,
Right. Yeah, they could kind of get out ahead before other people start doing that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, continuing on the lines of sort of thinking about female villains to kind of go with the theme of the show, Supergirl, we could have a Power Girl villain. So what do you think about that one?
I think that's got a lot of potential. I mean, Power Girl's had some excellent comics, well written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, and great art by Amanda Connor. Like, there's some great stories. They've really made her more of a kind of a great character in the DC universe in the last 10 years. So really, she could be bigger, stronger, kind of more of a, badass version of Supergirl, give her a bit of a run for her money. And also story-wise, she's originally from a different planet as well. So they could kind of play around with that, tie it somehow to Supergirl's origin, or just expand the universe and have her coming from a different planet as well. And just kind of really, there's a lot to play with there, I think.
Yeah, I think it sounds really good. And they've already introduced other planets, and we've seen aliens from other planets as well. They have they have different ways they could explain for her coming to Earth. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you could kind of parallel Kara, but have it, be somebody that's turned a different way, towards more of the negative side or the evil side of things than Kara has. But have some parallels between the two of them. So you could have a lot of different levels of storytelling there.
Yeah, it's got potential, I think.
And then I should mention, so before we go to our number 5 on the list of villains that we'd like to see in Supergirl, we have Silver Banshee confirmed for coming up later this season.
That's exciting.
And yeah, I think that's going to be cool. And Toyman, they're clearly setting the stage for Toyman, so we didn't put him on our list, but I am looking forward to seeing how Win and his father and those dynamics are going to play out. That's definitely coming at some point.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Toyman's kind of that fine line, like between being campy and can be a serious villain, so we'll see how they handle that. But Silver Banshee's in a couple of my favorite Superman comics during that John Byrne run, and just a great character, and there's a lot of, good backstory with things from other parts of the world in there, and can tie in some mythology. I like that.
Great. Here's number 5 on our list, though. It might be unexpected for a lot of people, but our number 5 villain for Supergirl is Nimrod the Hunter. And this is a character that I remember most recently from Action Comics number 10 by Grant Morrison, and he's this hunter who's really full of himself, and he's a big game hunter, and he's like, I can take down anything that you name. I can take down the biggest game here, there, whatever.
Yeah.
And so in that Action Comics issue, he tries to take down Superman, and so he goes through all this stuff to try to figure out a way to take down Superman, because Superman's like the biggest game that there is.
Yeah.
Now, they might not in Supergirl use the name Nimrod, and I might advise them to use a different name, but I think that there could be just a single episode that has this idea where there's some big cocky hunter, gunsman type thing. Maybe it could play up the whole, love of guns in the United States type thing.
There you go.
But he's just very cocky, and he's taking it as a personal challenge to take down Supergirl, and this is sort of like his sport.
I could totally see that working because, as I mentioned to you before we started recording, that is very similar to Kraven the Hunter and Spider-Man, and it always worked very well. I'm surprised they still haven't used that character in one of the Spidey movies, and I would love to see this character be used interestingly in the DC universe because that comic was good. The Grant Morrison run is pretty awesome. There's a lot of great ideas there. So why not put it in a Supergirl comic versus a Superman comic? It could work just as well.
Yeah, and I think not every villain is going to be the season-long big threat. Like they're kind of setting a lure up for season 1. But yeah, this I think could be just one episode where it's like, okay, this guy comes in, he's all cocky. Kara can, take him down a notch by the end of the episode.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, so many TV shows kind of get caught up on season-long character developments that when you do something like this, it kind of is more surprising and in a way shakes things up a bit and gets rid of that let's do this over so many episodes. So it'd be refreshing.
Yeah, all right. So that's our list. If you've got some other thoughts, we'd be curious to talk with you in the comments section. And they're really throwing a lot of characters so far. So, and it's having a fairly successful season 1. It's still bringing in about 8 million viewers, which is pretty good, I think. So hopefully we're on track to multiple seasons of Supergirl, which I'd be excited for.
Oh, sounds good. Looking forward to it.